What's happening, everybody? My name is Mike at Filmboy24. Back at it again. Revised, updated, and a lot better. Arriflex 16S battery build version 2.0. That's right. Today, in this magical, mystical case that I got really inexpensively at Harbor Freight, holds three, not two, not one, but three brand new batteries that I built for my Arriflex 16S 16mm movie camera. We're going to go over exactly how I did it, and we're going to go over exactly how much it cost for me to do that. Before I get started, I do want to mention I am 4 subscribers away. As of this taping, as of quarter to noon, right now, 4 subscribers away from 1,000. I'm just shaking because it's very exciting for me. I didn't think I'd ever get to 100, to be quite honest with you. I don't have that many family members. So to get to 996 in less than 14 months, the average on YouTube is 22 months. I've been doing it for 13-ish months. So I'm just, thank you, everybody, sincerely, from the bottom of my celluloid heart. Thank you for subscribing, commenting, always having my back, always, especially you OGs. You know who you are, my little crew. If you're into film, we're probably going to be best friends at some point. Anyway, thank you so much, and we are well on our way to another fantastic year for me. My first year ended August 8th of 2021 on YouTube. So I got a lot of fun things, exciting things planned for the following 12-month period. My daughter's planning on making me something special for my 1,000 subscriber hit. I'll show you what she makes. She loves to draw and do things like that. She made me this bracelet. My wife got me this brand new coffee mug for my pre-1,000 subscriber hit mark. It's camping. I love wildlife. Love, love, love being outside. Unfortunately, I live in Florida where it's hot and muggy and humid, so it's hard to get outside, especially during the summer. But if you've seen my other videos, or any of them, you know that I have lots of wildlife in my backyard, like hawks and squirrels. And by the way, I got a nice picture of a hawk in my backyard just 2 days ago. Take a quick peek. And last night, we heard, ooh, ooh, ooh. That's an owl coming straight from me in our front yard. And I took my flashlight out there with my phone and tried to get a picture of him, but it didn't come out very good. Anyway, that's enough about all of that. Just very exciting times for me because I'm so close to 1,000 subscribers. And again, thank you. That's enough said. What are we talking about today? Well, we're talking about a brand spanking new, updated version of my Arriflex 16S battery pack. When I bought this camera I'm going to go with 6 months ago. I don't know. I'm terrible with times. About 6 months ago, it's in beautiful condition, came with lenses, came with the variable speed motor, and I have since refurbed a magazine. If you haven't seen my first battery build, I actually talk about where I refurbished this magazine and sort of go over it and the torque motor on it. I've added a 24 frames per second crystal sync motor to the bottom of my camera. It's a George Jensen. I got it in a whole bunch of stuff I ordered online, really cheap, and I don't think the guy even knew it was in there. It runs great. So if you haven't seen my battery build, check it out. The version 1 I posted several months ago. I'll put a link somewhere for you to check it out. And I had some comments about mainly the amperage, and it was a very low amperage battery. These take about 8 volts, unless you've had them modified to take 12 volts, which I have not. These cameras take, or these motors and these cameras take 8 volts. So what I did, let me just show you real quickly. What I did the first time around for less than $23 was I built this little battery pack. Now, it used 7 1.2 volts, so it's 8.4 volts, 1,000 milliamp rechargeable batteries. Well, 1,000 milliamp is the same as 1 amp, so it just really probably wasn't nearly strong enough. I'm getting about 400 feet of film either 1 mag or 4 rolls of 100 feet out of a full charge on this battery pack. There's a couple of changes I wanted to implement in version 2. Namely, I wanted to double the milliamps. And the last thing I wanted to do, which I wanted to do the first time around, was to somewhere add an on-off switch. Now, I really wanted to keep everything on the top face or the front of the pack so that if it was in a case or something like they are now, things don't get turned on or scraped up or scratched, or I'm kind of a neat freak. But there's no room. There wasn't enough room on the front of this, so I did improvise. I'm going to show you in just a second what I did and how much it cost me for version numero dos of this pack. And I'll show you exactly what we used with the, the batteries, and I changed up the type of battery. So what do we have here? Let me move my coffee. That could get ugly. Hang on one second. By the way, this is the variable speed motor that I did some tests with the new packs with the variable speed motor, and as well as the 24 frames per second sync motor. If you have an Arriflex or you're planning on getting one, try to find one that comes with the power cable, the original power cable. I looked at a lot of them before we bought this one, and these are really, really difficult to find. There's a guy out there that put one together. He made a DIY cable for his. It's a little cheesy, but it runs and it works. And you know, I love DIY, do it yourself. But I didn't want to mess with the cable itself. Maybe in the future I'll try making one, but why? I have one. So it's a 2-pin to 4-pin XLR natively, unless your camera has been converted. Mine has not. And on the bottom here, I don't know if you can see under here, is the port for the battery, or for the power cable. If you fall off this counter, you guys will see me cry. So what I did, dun, 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 dun. I love these cases, by the way. They're similar to the Pelican brand case. I talked about them in my last video, and I bought a couple of these. I bought one for my Canon 1014 XLS cameras. I have a few of those, so here's a picture of that case. But this smaller one, I think it's the 1800, houses my new battery packs beautifully. Now, before I tell you exactly what we got going on here, let me tell you that each pack costs, because I bought some things in bulk, so you save a little bit on shipping and the prices come down a little bit, but each pack cost me just under $25. Now, if you add like the things that I already owned, like the shrink tubing and the solder and the black tape and a couple of things that probably most people already own, if you don't figure those things in and you have to buy them, then you're probably in the $26, $27 per battery range. The battery pack, very similar in design to battery build 1, with one major difference, as you can see from the front. My new battery has a rocker switch on the front, where this one just has the 2.1 by 5 millimeter input jack here. This one has it on the side. So the changes that I made in this was I implemented a on-off switch. Now this has to be wired. I'll show you the inside of one of these in just a second. I got a bunch of pictures. But this has to be wired directly from the battery. Your hot goes to your on-off switch so that immediately it shuts off everything, all of your ports. So in other words, the hot wire doesn't really start till it comes out of the on-off switch. Okay, enough about that. What are the parts? The parts are quite simple. You start with a project box or project enclosure. This is a 4-inch by 3-inch by 1.6-inch or 100 millimeter by 75 millimeter by about 40.5 millimeters thick project box. I will put a complete list in the description of all of the parts that I use, all the vital parts that I use to build this pack. So the batteries that I used were the Tenergy brand 1.2 volt. It's the AA size. They had the tabs already sort of popped onto the ends already. I don't recommend that. They are a pain. From now on, if I make battery packs, I'm going to get batteries without the little tabs sticking up on both ends, because I eventually, by the time I got to my third pack, I had cut all of those tabs off. And you can't pull them off. They're like, I don't know what they do, that little, they staple them on almost without staples. So I don't like the batteries with the tabs, but I did get those, and that's what I used. These enclosures cost me, after shipping and after buying, I bought 3 of them. This one I bought separate a long time ago. But about 3 of these, and they were $6.37 each after shipping. If you build one just like this, you will need an on-off rocker switch. This switch cost me, when buying in bulk, and I bought a 10-pack, was about 90 cents. You will need a 2.1 millimeter by 5.5 millimeter female jack that I put on the side here. These ended up costing me about 83 cents a piece. And lastly, at least for the outside of the case, you will need a 4-pin XLR female input jack. Now, I did order a 4-pack of these, and I have used all 4 of them already, as you can see. These ended up costing me about $2.25 a piece. It's a 4-piece little kit. You got to put this little insert inside from the other direction, or from this direction. There's a little set screw and this release here. You do have to source your own little screws to screw this into the side of the case, which I just found 3 little screws. Drill little holes. A couple other things you're probably going to want to use is wire. Now, I already had some 18 gauge sort of speaker wire, a red and a black speaker type wire. 18 gauge is probably overkill for these. It's pretty thick, but I already had it, so I used it. You'll need a couple of basic tools. I had some wire strippers. If you don't have those and you want to go old school, you can, you know, kind of cut it with a knife and peel off the end of the wire. But I have some wire strippers, and I used a little drill or electric screwdrivers, and you got to have a soldering gun or soldering gun and some solder and some flux. Now, the flux sort of helps that solder to really adhere. I did score the surfaces on most of the things. I forgot a couple of times, but take a little sandpaper and, you know, score to the top of the battery a little bit so the solder can stick to it better. The batteries. Again, I used the Tenergy batteries. I did use nickel metal batteries this time as opposed to nickel cadmium. The nickel metal batteries, nickel cadmium or NiCad batteries are what I used in this. And I believe NiCads do have a memory effect, which means if you run this battery down about halfway and then you recharge it, if you do that over and over again, the charger starts believing that your halfway point is fully charged. So you're only getting half of your battery. I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, but a little bit older technology, nickel metal, a little bit newer technology. I'm not a scientific guy, Billy Nye guy. No memory effect. And these particular ones are 2,000 milliamps each, which, you know, I wired this all in series, which ups the voltage but keeps the amps the same. So this is essentially an 8.4 volt battery pack at about 2 amps. I'm going to show you a series of photographs that I took while I was building these packs. Now, this is pack 1. I put a little piece of tape on there. This is pack 1. So what I did is I built this first, just to make sure it would run and it would work the camera. After I figured that it would, I went ahead and I built pack 2 and pack 3. And they're all identical. So I'll show you a series of photographs of exactly what I did to build these packs. Not that difficult. If you have a little bit of patience, it took a little while because you do have to drill out the holes, and this ABS, the plastic, whatever it's called, I think it's ABS, can be a little stubborn. I used a stepper bit, just like this one, to sort of get the right. Now, my bit wasn't quite big enough for these, so I used my little Dremel tool with the sanding drum attachment, and I just widened this ever so slightly. If you're going to do something like that, do it once, try to fit it. Do it once, try to fit it. You can keep doing it over and over, but you can't undo it. And you don't want this thing to not fit, or any of these to not fit. Now, this is a square hole, so I just drilled a hole the right width and then used my square file to sort of file this out and do exactly the same thing. Do a little bit, try to fit it. Do a little bit, try to fit it. Until it fits. If it fits, you must be happy. Whoa. One other thing I forgot to mention, this little on-off switch, why did I put it on here? Well, I wanted it on the first one, and I essentially wanted it because I kind of wanted to shut all of the battery power off to everything that it was going to, simply because if anything were to fall in here, or, you know, carrying it around or on a set somewhere or doing something, I don't really want these to make contact. I didn't want anything to, you know, get in there or get into these ports or anything. So I wanted the ability to shut it off before it reached these ports. One other thing that it kind of comes in handy, if I'm being honest, as sort of a remote. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about right now. So let's plug this camera in. Now, it is set up, as you can see, with my 400-foot magazine. I will tell you about the tests that I ran. I'm going to put this motor away, and let's get the camera hooked up. All right, got it plugged in. We are plugged in, and all you do, simply take the male end of your plug, or the only end of your plug. By the way, when I tested these batteries, I don't know that they were fully charged. I have a couple of chargers that I'm working on now, but for right now, I'm just using a 12-volt charger in the 2.1 millimeter jack, and it doesn't really tell you when it's fully charged, so I just charged them for a couple hours and then went from there. So now that it's in, let me show you the on-off switch. Start the camera. Sort of a remote technique. What's up? Okay, yeah, that's corny. But that's me. So how well did they perform? Well, I'd say they did as good as I was hoping for. For about 75 bucks, I made 3 more Arriflex 16S battery packs. Still at about half of the price of the cheapest professionally made Arriflex battery pack that I've been able to find. So I'm still way ahead of the game. So as long as this would last me at least as long as my version 1 did, well, then I could do a full day shoot with what I have right now. So here's my test. I put a dummy roll 400 foot in my magazine, attached the magazine, attached the battery pack, my 24 frames per second sync motor, and I ran the camera for about 1 to 1.5, sometimes 2 minute increments, which is actually a little bit overkill because usually your shots are not that long. So I would start the camera, I would run it for 1 minute to 2 minutes, I would stop the camera, and I would let that film just keep running. I was able to get almost 3 full 400 foot magazines out of one pack that I'm not 100% sure was even fully charged. It may have been. So I think I can definitely get double my old battery pack. So I know I could get 2 400 foot magazines out of one battery pack, which is way more than sufficient for me because I have 3 battery packs. But my question was not answered yet as to how long it would power at a much higher frame rate. So I took my handy dandy variable frame rate motor, plugged it in, and what I did was the same thing. Now, full disclosure, I took the film out of the magazine. I didn't really want to run at 40 frames per second my dummy film over and over again through the magazine. So I know there's a little more drag and more torque required when you actually have film in the camera. I was okay with that. I just wanted to see how long the battery would run this. Not completely maxed out, but I kept it per the tachometer, my frames per second tachometer, at right at around 39 to 41 frames per second. Now it's variable speed and it's variable current, so it fluctuated just a little bit. But I wanted to see how long it would run it at approximately 40 frames per second. I'm excited to say that it ran for just over 20 minutes. That's exciting for me. I honestly didn't expect I'd get more than 4 or 5 minutes at such a high frame rate, which does require a bit more power. So 20 minutes of running that, not continuously. I did it the same way I did my first test, 1 minute to 2 minutes, and then I would turn it off. I don't want to burn anything up. And it did great. It stayed right in the 40 frames per second range, and I ran it for 20 minutes. Success! I'm super happy with this. Like I said, I'll put all of the parts, I'll do a little list down in the description, so if you're interested in something like this. My initial plan also was to put a fuse inside here. It's only 2 amps, I'm not that worried about it, so I left it out of here. I will say, this is a small case. This is just about everything you can pack inside this case. Just like the pictures I showed you earlier, you can see there's not a whole lot of room in there for anything else. If I go any higher on the amperage, I probably will put a small fuse inside there just to protect my baby. Last, before I let you go, well, you're probably already gone. If you're not, you know what? Here's a fun thing. If you're not gone by now, because I ramble a lot, I know I do, get in the comments and type something like "still here." That lets me know. I'm just curious how many people actually watch this deep into my ridiculous ramblings. If you can see me right now, get in the comments and type "still here." I want to see who actually watches till this deep into my video. I do have a couple more things I'm working on for this as it relates to power. I bought this Radio Shack, it's an older one, 8 volt, output 8 volt AC adapter. It cost me about 20 bucks. But it has the, I don't know, it has some funky, I think that's a 2.1 millimeter plug on the end of it. Yes, it is. So I want to cut this plug off, and I want to solder in a 4-pin XLR, and then it's only 1.5 amps, but it is an AC current. It reduces down to 8 volts at 1.5 amps to power this out of my AC current. Okay, about 20 bucks. And I also have a couple of these battery chargers, and I like these because they tell you when the battery is full, and you can charge anywhere from 1 to 2 amp. Here's the other one. These are the other one that I just showed you is made by Tenergy, same company that makes the batteries. This is a sort of a clone of that Tenergy. They're made for the old RC cars, or not old but new, radio controlled cars and whatnot. But I have all intention of cutting this up and making a battery charger from a new PAX. So I'll show you that. Maybe next video we'll talk about that really quick, just to give you an update. If you like videos like this, I want you to do me a huge favor. Be the reason I get to 1,000 subscribers. It keeps me going. It helps me to get the energy to continue to do this. These videos take a long time to produce, and I only do it because I love that people watch them. So if you would, do me a huge solid, subscribe. Stop pointing, Mike. Subscribe, tap the like button, and until the very next time that I see each and every one of you absolutely beautiful people, me and my Arriflex will see you on the very next go-around.